This episode of the Turf District podcast is brought to you by the Edmonton Community Foundation. The foundation acts as a bridge between donors and charities to create a strong, vibrant community for generations to come. You can start an endowment fund yourself or with a group, and once it reaches $10,000, it can start distributing funds. Vital Signs is an annual checkup conducted by Edmonton Community Foundation in partnership with the Edmonton Social Planning Council, and it measures how the community is doing. This year's focus is on making ends meet in Edmonton. You can learn more at ecfoundation.org. That's ecfoundation.org. Enjoy the show.
Hey, fellas, we ain't gonna ever back down from nobody. I don't care who it is. This is a brotherhood. And if we stand strong together, we can't be denied. If one of us goes down, we have another, and another, and another that's ready to fight. So let's hit this field and bang them, bang them, bang them. Somebody light me up.
It's time to huddle up. It's the Turf District Podcast. Welcome back to the Turf District, where we huddle up to talk all things Edmonton Elks and the CFL. We're a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown, community supported, and we're also a part of the Canadian Football Podcast Network. I'm Andrew, and welcome to the district. We have an amazing guest and show for you this evening, and thank you for joining us on YouTube. And of course, if you've downloaded the audio podcast, thanks for downloading. We really appreciate it. And if you have a second to share, we'd really appreciate that as well. Let's bring in who is joining us tonight. Unfortunately, Superfan Mike is not able to be with us tonight, but we do still have from the south side, very south side as the case might be, it's the one and only Commissioner Kayla. How are you, Kayla?
Very south.
Very south.
The windiest Winderson there ever was. Oh my gosh. I feel like my house is going to blow away at any second.
Well, my worry is that it just blows my hair everywhere. It's horrible.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. You wouldn't want to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's really, really bad.
Invest in that hairspray.
Before we bring our guest in, did you know that yesterday was a significant day?
Was it?
Yeah. Mike texted me. It should have been a national holiday because 7 years ago yesterday, we signed James Franklin. Did you know that?
I did know that. I did know that. I was just trying to be a little facetious. But yes, I did know that.
It's a national holiday right there. Yeah, exactly.
There you go. Andrew's national holiday. Put it in the calendars, folks.
That's right. Well, talking about signing people and bringing people in, we should probably bring in our guest. What do you think about that? That would be a good idea?
Yeah.
Okay.
While we have a chance, do it.
Absolutely. All right. So I'm excited to bring in our guest this week. Now, before we bring him in, I just want to say thanks to the Elks for helping us get our guests recently. It's been really helpful with that. Our guest tonight really needs no introduction. We're joined by a CFL Hall of Famer, or Canadian Football Hall of Famer, receiver that played 15 seasons in the CFL, 6-time CFL All-Star, 3-time Grey Cup champion, and CFL record holder for most receiving yards with 16,352. He also happens to be the new assistant general manager for the Elks. Welcome to the Turf District, Geroy Simon. I'm so glad you're here.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that intro takes me a while to read through. Sorry, I was you did a lot when you
that was a shortened version of it.
I know. Yeah, I could have kept going. I'm like, I'm gonna waste all of our time just doing the intro. So glad you're here, and welcome to the Elks. Very, very excited when you signed on with the team. Tell us a little bit about the first few months in the new role.
The first few months have been it's been fun. It's all the things that you think it would be, and coming to a new team and turn over a roster. There were some struggles last year. So, with Chris coming in and changing the philosophy, trying to change the culture and the mindset, that comes with change of players as well. So we had to change over a lot of players from the previous roster, and we're out finding new players each and every seems like each and every weekend. But it's been great. It's been a great learning experience. It's very busy. It's very fast paced, but I'm loving it.
Wow. It seems so surreal to actually have you in green and gold. Like it's quite surreal. But let's take it back. And who introduced you to football, and when did you start playing?
Well, where I'm from, in Western Pennsylvania, football is just kind of, you come out of the womb playing football. Growing up in Steeler country, everybody, in my household and in my hometown basically is a Steelers fan. We bleed black and gold. So, from the early days of me being a child, I played a bunch of other sports, but football was something that, it was just, you just from the time you were walking, you're holding the football in your hand and running and tackling and it's funny because now that I think about it, growing up, we played football almost every day. If we weren't, on the basketball court, but almost every day in the summer we're playing. Obviously in the fall we're playing. Even in the winters when there's snow on the ground and there's snow on the basketball courts, we actually played tackle football on the concrete. So there's a lot of snow there to protect you. But that's some of the things that we did. Football's it's like drinking water where I'm from in Western Pennsylvania.
Superfan Mike is a big Steelers fan too, so he's sad he can't be here to talk to you about that for sure.
Yeah, I can relate on the black and gold, just a different black and gold, not so much the Pittsburgh black and gold.
Well, now we just cut out the black. It's all green now. Come on, we're all.
Yeah. Oh, right.
Yeah, that's
fair
what
enough.
it is. Yeah.
Fair enough. But do you remember your first year as a rookie, and what was the biggest thing you had to get used to in the CFL?
Well, yeah, I remember my rookie year in the CFL very fondly and very vividly. I remember the first game of my rookie year. I came in with a little bit of hype, and I had a really good training camp with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and I remember going through warmups and the starting returner Joe Rogers. He got hurt in warm-up somehow, and we didn't have a punt returner. So I was like, well, I return punts in university, so I can do it. But little did I not realize that the no fair catch rule. So three plays into my rookie season, I catch a punt and my leg gets blown out of the water by I think his name was Dennis Schilling from Hamilton. So the first game of my rookie year, I was injured and sat out like 8 weeks because because of the fair catch rule. But there was certain little details in the CFL game that obviously I had to get used to. The motion at the line of scrimmage, the extra man on the field, 3 downs instead of 2 downs, 20-second play clock. So there were a number of different rules that I had to get adjusted to. And I think the injury was a blessing to me because it gave me a chance to sit back and watch and really learn, so that when I got back on the field, I really knew what I was doing once I got out there.
Oh, that's amazing. Now, obviously you learned the waggle. You did very well with it. And 12 years, 2 Grey Cups with the Lions. Interestingly enough, you actually played with my cousin Cameron Legault at the
Oh yeah.
One of the, yeah. So so I came very close to meeting you a few times when I went to go see him. But what are your fondest memories of your time there? And then tell us about the Superman nickname in the end zone pose, because everyone wants to know kind of where that came from because it's so awesome.
Yeah, I mean, playing in BC was a great experience for me. It gave me a chance to set down some roots after, bouncing around the NFL and the CFL for a bunch of years. And when I got to BC, I was tired of moving, moving around and, not having any real stability. But yeah, growing, spreading my wings in BC was really, I think it was a great experience for me. We came up with the Superman pose. It was one of those things where my son Jaden was born, and he was really into superheroes, and I was like, every kid thinks their dad's a superhero, so I said I'll do this little thing for him if I score a touchdown, and I did it, and it was a road game, so he could see it on TV, but it ended up, I ended up scoring a lot more touchdowns, so it kind of grew legs of its own and kind of took off. So that's where that Superman pose came in, and just kind of ran with it over the years, and it really caught on.
Oh man,
that's so cool. A thing for your son that turns into a lifelong legacy, which is awesome.
For sure. Yeah.
Oh man, 2 legacies in one. But you moved into Saskatchewan in 2013 and won a Grey Cup on home field. So what was that experience like in Regina? And also, do you have a fave DB that you went up against?
Well, the experience in Saskatchewan was a great experience. I knew that my time in BC was over, or at least coming to an end. And they, while we were going back and forth on the contract, and we couldn't come to an agreement on what the contract would look like, and he gave me an opportunity to seek a trade. And a good friend of mine, a guy who brought me into the league, someone I stayed close with over all these years, Brendan Taman, was at Saskatchewan. So when he gave me the opportunity to seek a trade, the only team I called was Saskatchewan, and we got the deal done. And my experience in Saskatchewan was amazing because, all the years of playing in BC, I kind of envied Saskatchewan from afar because, they really loved their football. Football was number one in the province. And it kind of sucked because, we won so much in BC, but we were always played second fiddle to the Canucks, and I could never understand it because I'm like, we're the winning team here. The Canucks they haven't won anything, and we're sitting here winning divisional titles. We're winning, Grey Cup champions, and you're still talking about the Canucks. So I kind of wanted to get away from that. I wanted to go somewhere where football was king. Like I said, I'm from Western Pennsylvania, where football is king, and that's the number one sport. So I wanted to go to an environment where football was the number one sport, and when you win, you're celebrated for it, and that's what we did in Saskatchewan. Now, as far as my favorite DB to go up against, I didn't really have any because I felt like I had a great opportunity to beat any of them. So yeah, I can't say I have a favorite one, but there's plenty that I had success with, and I took pride in beating a guy and kind of sending him home. So that was something that I really took pride in, and that if a guy was going to guard me man to man, 1-on-1, that there's a good chance that he's going to go home and never play football again. And that's just the mentality I had as a player. That I was taking it real that serious.
I love it.
That's so good. Well, I will be one of the first to say that I never thought I would see you in any color green, much less that shade. But I'm glad you have the right shade of green now. That's important. Yeah. But you retire and then you moved right into scouting and development. Yeah. What appealed to you most about the scouting side of things?
Well, the thing for me, I played so long as a pro that I knew that eventually my career was going to come to an end, and so I started working on little things to stay in the game. I wanted to stay in the game of football. I wanted to stay around sports because I knew that that's where I would really flourish. I've done a bunch of other things. I've done sales jobs. I did some HR stuff. I did a number of different jobs on the side, and nothing really appealed to me like the feeling that you get when you're around sports. So I knew I wanted to stay in the game. As far as what direction I wanted to go into, I didn't want to go directly into coaching because, again, I moved around so much at the early part of my career. I didn't want to move a ton. Starting the next phase, my kids were young. I had a family. I didn't want to move around every year, so that's why I went into scouting and personnel. Brendan gave me a great opportunity to, kind of take baby steps to go into scouting. I did scouting. I did appearances for the club, speaking engagements, a number of different things that could kind of help my transition from on the field to off the field into being in the personnel scouting department.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And now you had 6 years in the BC office. Is that right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so during that time, did you have a good scouting story where you're like, hey, I found this guy, or like you wouldn't believe the stadium that I just went to watch a guy play, or any of those types of things?
Yeah, it's funny. I have a lot of scouting stories. My first scouting trip, when I was with the Riders, I was on my first NFL trip, and I'm going out and I go get my rental car. I get my rental car from Pittsburgh. I'm driving to West Virginia, going to scout the New Orleans Saints down at the Greenbrier in West Virginia. But you're in the mountains of West Virginia when you're driving. So I'm watching, I'm driving and I'm looking at my GPS and I realize I miss a turn. But in that, I try to swerve over and I go through the median, not through the median, but there's a where the road breaks, and I go through there and there's a bunch of gravel or whatever. So I get a flat tire, but I get a flat tire on this rental car, and I'm in the mountains of West Virginia. I have no cell service. There's nothing around, so I basically have to pull over and have to ride the little small spare for like 50 miles till I can find a service department, and it was pretty crazy. That was my welcome to scouting moment. I didn't have insurance on the car, so I ended up having to pay out of my own pocket for a new tire. Just because you get rental cars as a young guy, you're like, nothing's going to happen. And lo and behold, it's my, 3 hours into my trip, I get a flat tire and I got to pay for a new tire. So that was that. One of the coolest, I mean, I've had a lot of cool experiences, but one of the cooler experiences is I was on a trip a couple years later. I don't even remember. I was going to Dallas, and when they opened up the new AT&T Stadium, I flew in for a preseason game, and I got there a little bit late. Normally, as a scout, you get to games 2-3 hours early just to get there and get set up. But I fly into Dallas, then I have to drive to Irving to the stadium, and I get the first spot right at the stadium doors. So that was pretty cool. I think I might have took Jerry Jones's parking spot because I was so close. And it was a really cool experience to park in the first spot at the stadium and then literally walk out of my car, take 2 steps out of my car into the building, which is pretty cool.
They didn't just have a sign for you there, Canadian Football Hall of Fame, Geroy Simon. Well,
you learn to give the gab when you're in certain situations. You learn how to talk to people. You know how to talk to people really nicely, and then sometimes a Grey Cup ring can get you a long ways. There's been times where I haven't had tickets to a game, but I somehow find myself on the field watching the game just because you got your Grey Cup ring and things like that. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I need some help with the gift of gab because I just go on and then people lose attention. I just like it. Yeah. I don't get anywhere.
You got to be direct. You got to be very nice, but you got to be direct and tell them exactly what you want, what you need.
That's where I lose it. I'm too I'm nice, but then I just kind of ramble on and they lose interest.
I got you.
But so you joined the Elks in December, and it's I'm still amazed and it's crazy to see you here with us, and I don't know, for me, I'm honored because I joined the CFL and that was kind of like your prime. So it's a little bit of a moment of shock for me to see you sitting here for us when you were like the Lions everything. So very, very cool. Anyway, I digress. Tell us a little bit about the relationship that you have with Chris Jones and building the new roster, and what was free agency like this year?
Well, I'd known Chris for a number of years. I think he came into the league around 2002, so I'd already been in the league for a couple of years. And then, with all the years of him having success as a defensive coordinator, and then my success as a player, we would always talk before games. He always talks about how I come up to him, ask him if he's going to double me that night, and he'd be like, "You're damn right, I'm going to double you." But we just kind of built a relationship over the years. I mean, a lot of people think that we're polar opposites, but we're actually very close. We're very similar in what we believe in, as far as players and building a roster and things like that. So it's funny because I talked to Chris and I'd hung out with him a few times over the years, but 3 years ago at the NFL Combine, we ended up having breakfast. And it was just supposed to be a 15-minute, hey, how you doing? Have a quick coffee. And we ended up sitting and talking for 3 hours about philosophies and rosters and, things that gone on in the past. And, we came out of that saying that if we ever had the opportunity to work together, that we were going to make it happen. So, going through the process of him being hired as the GM and head coach, as soon as he got the job, I think I was his first call, and he asked me if I wanted to come along, and it was a no-brainer for me. It was a great step. It was a great opportunity for me to learn from him, and learn how to build a winning roster, and see how that's done. So it's been a great experience so far. And as far as free agency goes, we were aggressive. We were very aggressive in what we wanted. I think, again, the gift of gab and the gift of recruiting. I think that's one of my strong points, because although I don't talk a ton, but when I go about recruiting a player, 9 chances out of 10 we seem to get that player. Chris gave us an opportunity to go out and do that. Obviously, myself, Chris, myself, and Sam Gahagan, we really went after guys, and I think we made our roster better. Now it's a matter of we got to finish it off with the draft, and then get into training camp and get this thing rolling.
Chills.
Even in your free agents, you signed one of your former teammates, Manny Arsenault, coming back.
Yeah.
Like that's that one must have been at least a little bit easy, because you're like, hey, Manny, come on,
Exactly.
you know me.
I mean, that was one of the easier negotiations, and signing Manny. I know that the thing is with Manny, and what I can appreciate about Manny, he had been out of the CFL for a couple of years, but I know him. I know his work ethic. I know what he brings to the table as far as leadership. He's not. He's a guy he's a vocal leader, but he also leads by example. The receiver room will be better off having Manny Arsenault in that room, and there will be no guys that are slacking off, no guys that are cutting corners, because it won't happen with Manny in the room. So that's the one thing, in building a team, you got to build a team with the right type of players. It's great to have skill and ability, but you got to have the right type of players. And Manny brings that veteran leadership, that toughness that you want in a player and a leader.
Oh,
Oof.
fantastic. Now you talked about, up next is the draft, but I know the combine just happened, and return to being in person. And tell us a bit about that experience going in the assistant GM role, and also do you feel like you got a better assessment with it being in person?
Yeah, you always get a better assessment when you can see guys live. Sometimes when guys send videos, the videos are doctored, and it's even just if it's not doctored, you can't see what you want to see. You can't see how a guy reacts if he doesn't run as fast as he normally runs, if he doesn't jump as high as he normally jumps, and if he doesn't perform the way he's used to performing. Those things that are intangibles that you need to evaluate a player. So it was great to not only see the players in person, but also see the guys around the league in person. It was tough to be away from guys over the past 2 years. With COVID and everything. So getting in the same building with guys and talking football, talking shop was something that was really important, and it made you feel like things were coming back to normal, and we can move this thing forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. On the combine too, another question that just came to my mind. What is it like sitting in on those interviews? Like, I can't imagine what that part is like, to just sit and interview a guy, but you're interviewing as like for talent, but for the person that is going to fit your team and all that. Like, what is that experience like?
Well, this year was a little bit different because for 5 years, five of the 7 years I was in BC. I was the director of director of Canadian Scouting. So I basically ran those interviews. But for the most part, it was me just asking the questions for someone else's, for other GMs to listen in on. But this year it was a little bit different because it was just Chris and myself in the room with the player, and we really got a sense of who the guys really are. We sat them down and we had casual conversation, but we also gathered a lot of information from these guys because making guys feel comfortable when they walk in the room, ask them if they want a water, had a bunch of candy, had chips, and things. Obviously, those guys don't want to have that stuff before they perform the next day in the combine, but bringing them into the room, offering them a drink of water, a coffee, a muffin, it kind of helps them relax, and then you get true answers as opposed to some pre-performed answers that they normally give to other teams.
Awesome.
Wow.
Sorry, Kayla, I stepped on you there, but go ahead.
No, I like that question. I like to see like the behind the scenes things and like how you actually talk to players and stuff. It's really unique to see from your perspective, especially Geroy. But so we have the draft upcoming, both Canadian and global, on the same day, with the Elks having the first Canadian round pick. How does the next few weeks play out for you guys? And is it harder having both drafts on the same day?
It's a challenge, but it's a challenge that we're up for. We have a clear direction that we want to go in with both drafts, and as long as we stick to our plan and doing the things that we have pre-planned, I think the draft is going to go smooth, both the global and the CFL and the Canadian draft. So we're looking forward to getting to it. And making our picks and getting those guys under contract, that's almost the last steps in putting the team together to prepare for the season. So we're really looking forward to getting there.
Ooh, exciting!
Fantastic. Well, let's get a couple of fan questions here, Geroy. Chris Agar has a funny question, I think. Do you remember the hardest hit you took on the field in college and in the CFL?
Oh yeah,
I was waiting for you to say I never got hit. I just scored touchdowns. Yeah, but that's nothing. when
you obviously you catch a lot of balls, you have a lot of balls thrown to you. You take a ton of big hits. One that I can remember, I ran an out route, and the outside receiver was supposed to take outside release, took an inside release, and turned Brandon Browner right into me. And I saw him coming, so I kind of turned my back, and he hit me so hard that I jumped up, and I was like, "Don't ever hit me that hard again." Brandon Browner. I also remember in the West Final in 2007, I run like a 16-yard curl route. Jarius Jackson, he kind of holds the ball and he throws it a little bit late, but he throws it high. And I was like, oh man, this isn't going to be good. So I ended up jumping up for the ball, and I jumped up pretty high, and I can't remember the guy's name. Arabin Justin, he hits my foot, and I end up falling. And the first thing to hit was my head, and the second thing to hit was my feet over my head. So I remember that one. It shook me up pretty good. I've been knocked out a few times, so obviously I don't remember those hits. I'm sure those are harder than the other two.
Ouch.
I don't know. Brandon Browner hitting you at full speed. That I'm hurting and I'm just sitting here. So that's fine. The David Winchester asks, how was the transition from player to working in the front office and having to deal with the players instead?
I think the biggest thing is, as far as when you transition, is learning to be humble, because when you make that transition, you're no longer a player. You might think yourself as a player, but you got to really make a separation, and that was one of the harder things that I had to do, because obviously playing for so many years, people, you gain a lot of friends in the league, but you also gain a lot of young guys who respect you. So you have to make the separation that you're no longer a player. You're in the front office, and you can't mix the two. And that was one of the biggest lessons for me. Like, guys that I played with in BC for 10 years, they want to hang out, but it's like I'm not a player anymore, so I can't. We can hang out at certain points, but we can't do the things that we did. When I was in uniform. So that's the biggest thing. And like I said, being humble, being willing to learn, because having experience on the field for how many ever years you played is one thing, but learning how to do things and on the other side of the ball is totally different. As far as like I said, building a roster, making transactions, and just doing the everyday things that you don't see as a player, because players come in at 8 o'clock and they leave at 2. But on this side of things, you can be in there at 3, 4 in the morning and leave at midnight. And nobody ever knows that. And then you don't get standing ovations for, when you have to, execute a contract or make a trade or things like that. So there's a lot more that goes into things, into the football side of things than just what happens, what people see on the field.
Absolutely.
Well, just so that I know you didn't see it, but when you signed Mark Cordy, I stood up and clapped. So I'll continue to do that. I'll start posting videos so that you can see it, so that you feel appreciated as well. Sure. We do appreciate those. One more question here. Tim Capper asks, your favorite CFL away city and your most hated CFL city.
Ooh.
Well, my favorite city to go to and visit would probably be Montreal. Just for the food and
the common answer
and everything. But the most hated city was obviously Regina. You don't want to go in there as a visitor, because it's not fun, getting batteries and pennies, things thrown at you on the field, on top of all the verbal altercations that you can have. But it's all in good spirit. They love their team, and they're just trying to get the competitive advantage.
Oh man, that's hilarious. Well, not hilarious. I would not like to experience that, but yeah, I'm just glad you didn't say your most hated city was Edmonton, because anyway, we're glad you're here. All right, a couple rapid fire questions for you here before we let you go. What's your favorite meal?
Ooh, steak with anything.
Good thing you're in Alberta now. We have lots of those. Yeah, that's good.
Exactly.
Wait, but how do you like it done? That is the main.
Medium rare.
Okay.
Ah, yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
We're good.
Okay, yeah, you just got a passing mark from Kayla. That's good.
Yeah.
What kind of music do you like to listen to?
I am an R&B thug, but I'll listen to anything. I mean, I'm growing up in different environments, growing up in Pennsylvania, living in BC, going to University of Maryland. I can listen to any type of music, and I know words to almost all types of music. So I can listen to anything, but I'm more R&B.
Fair enough. What are you streaming on Netflix these days, or any streaming service? I shouldn't always say Netflix, I
Ooh,
guess.
Netflix right now. Well, I'm watching 3 different series. I'm watching F1,
Oh,
um,
I want to watch that.
Netflix.
Yeah.
I'm watching Billions, and I'm watching Power. So yeah, so 3 different series that I'm watching when I have the slightest bit of free time.
Yeah, I was just gonna say in all your spare time. Yeah, Billions and Power. I like that for a general manager. Those are good things to watch. Get ready for
Yes.
how this is gonna run. Cookies or chips?
Oh, chips all day.
Okay, perfect. Who was your favorite player when you were growing up?
My favorite player growing up was Walter Payton.
Ooh, good pick. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Mhm.
He did okay. He was all right.
yeah, tough dude.
Yeah, exactly. Did you have any pre-game rituals?
Yeah, I mean, I like to say that I'm not superstitious, but I would, put my pants on, left sock, left shoe, right shoe, tie the left shoe, right shoe. Yeah, I did all those things.
Totally makes sense. Okay, what's the first thing you do after winning a Grey Cup as an assistant GM?
I don't know. I haven't done that yet. So,
Well, you're
um,
going to. That's what I'm getting at.
obviously,
Yeah.
yeah, we're definitely going to do that in the near future. I'm not sure. Probably hang out with the fam and party with the family and the team.
Nice.
Eat a good
Love it.
steak. There you
Oh,
go.
I'll definitely do that.
Okay.
I'm looking
Uh,
forward to those AAA Alberta steaks.
That's right. Yeah. I guess we know what we have to get Geroy. All right. What do you do when you're not on the job? What do you like to do in the moments of spare time that you have?
Well, if I'm not hanging out with the family and cooking, because I'd like to think that that I'm pretty handy in the kitchen. I play a lot of golf. I have not touched my golf clubs once this year, um, because we've been so busy with the job. But I play a lot of golf, and I obviously hang out with the family and cook.
Nice.
Fantastic. Now, I know you're, brand new to the team, 4 months in or whatever, but maybe this will be more of a projection than what you really know to this point. But what does the EE way mean to you?
Well, watching Edmonton from afar, I knew that I've always known that Edmonton is a first class organization, and I must say I'm pretty proud to wear the EE because it stands for excellence. Every time that I came to Edmonton, there was the players and the fans and the community was so proud of the EE. So I'm pretty excited to have the opportunity to wear the EE. I never thought that I would work for Edmonton over the years, but I'm proud to say that I'm the assistant general manager for the Edmonton Elks and look forward to sporting that EE for many years to come. And I believe that I'm a very well dressed guy, and I can't wait to wear the green with pride.
Awesome. You wear that green and come down to the tailgate before the game. We'll make sure you get something tasty. That's
Sure.
that's the important part. All right. Before we check out here, this episode is also brought to you by Northwest Fest International Documentary Festival, running in cinema from May 6th to 14th and online from May 5th to 15th. Northwest Fest is thrilled to finally be able to bring the festival back to Metro Cinema this year with an outstanding lineup of some of the year's best docs snacks, and a few fun surprises. This year's festival is a hybrid affair with over 20 films screening at Metro Cinema, including the acclaimed Nick Cave music doc This Much I Know to Be True, along with dozens of feature and short films screening online. This event is open to the public and is an absolute must for anyone who's ever dreamed of making their own film. Check out the full Northwest Fest film lineup and purchase all access passes or single tickets at northwestfest.com.
That's pretty
Geroy,
cool.
Isn't it? I was when I
really
got that
cool.
ad, I'm like, yeah, this is outstanding. This is great. I love doing. We get to do video stuff. That's amazing. Geroy, thank you so much for giving us your time this evening. I know you've been away and now you need to go spend some time with your family, and we don't want to hold you up from that. So just let everyone know where can they find you if they want to interact online or anything like that, and kind of give us your pump of what's going to happen for the next few weeks.
Well, obviously, I'm excited for this year. If you my social media is pretty simple. Geroy Simon.
It is easy. I appreciate that.
Nothing crazy out there, but we're in the final stretch of the off season and putting this team together. We have a few more moves that we're going to make, and come the draft, after the draft, there's a few more days until we start training camp, and we're looking forward to having a very good season. We're not coming in this thing, saying that we're going to start slow. We're coming in guns a-blazing, and we're going to have a tough, fast, physical football team, and I think that's what the Chris Jones way, the Edmonton Elks way, is playing that way, and we're excited for this year, and we're looking forward to turning this thing around and having a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, you talked about the roster needing, a bit of an overhaul, and you guys have done an amazing job. So we're just as excited to be sitting hopefully at training camp and watching and saying, hey, I like that guy and this looks amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So great job to this point, and can't wait to see more for sure. Kayla, where does everybody find you?
On Twitter at Duchess Lombardi, usually, hopefully.
Yeah. I know, usually Mike's first, that throws you off.
I know.
In here. That's the trick, yeah. And then, of course, follow Superfan Mike at 56 Parkies and the history account at EDMHISTOREE.
Ooh, nice.
I even remembered that. Cool. Our Alberta Podcast Network plug for this week goes to Speaking Municipally podcast. Troy and Max sit on Edmonton City Council, so you don't have to. You can find them and all the other great shows at the Alberta Podcast Network.com. And as well, make sure you check out Pay It Forward with Football. They are having their bowling fundraiser on Sunday, May 1st, so get in touch with them. Come join us to have some fun. I know the Super family will be out there, and my family will be out there as well. We're excited to join them for that. So come in and join in on some of that fun. You can find us, of course, at the Turf District, and that's on Twitter, Facebook, and on Instagram. So join in the huddle there. Stick around with us for overtime, where we can have a little bit more fan discussion. Otherwise, we will be back on April 26th. That's a Tuesday night for the next one that we will be back. We're going to hopefully set up the draft there and cover all of the Elks news to that point as we get ready for the draft, and then, of course, the starting of training camp shortly after there. And we all insert squee here. That's amazing. So for Geroy Simon, for Superfan Mike, and Commissioner Kayla, I'm Andrew. Remember, you can't catch footballs with your face, and we will absolutely talk to you in 2 weeks.
Thanks for listening. Find more great shows like this at CF Pod Network on Twitter.